No UFO. No UFO is a 1985 techno song by Juan Atkins under the alias of Model 500. It was released on Atkins' own label Metroplex. The song was the first track released after the split of Atkins' previous group Cybotron. The music followed similar themes of the previous group with science fiction and alienation, but featured less of a song structure than Cybotron's music, leading the track to be often identified. On its release, the track was sold in Chicago, where it grew to the popularity that was larger than that in Detroit. When music labels from England investigated the dance music in Chicago, they eventually mapped it back to Detroit, leading to Atkins and his related musicians to agreeing to release a compilation bearing the song Techno Music by Atkins on Techno, the new dance sound of Detroit. The song was re-released in 2017 with remixes from contemporary artists such as Moodymann. Production. Background. Prior to recording No UFO, Juan Atkins grew up in a musical family, with his father being a music promoter. Atkins first began playing music with friends on his street, initially playing bass and guitar until he became 14 or 15 years old, and his family moved to Belleville, Michigan, near Atkins' grandmother. When moving to Belleville, Atkins started playing the keyboard and convinced his grandmother to buy him a synthesizer. Atkins became entranced with the sound of the machine and making electronic music demos by the time he was starting his college education. Atkins was influenced by radio host The Electrifying Mojo, that aired between 1977 and 1985 and played a wide variety of music ranging from funk artists like Parliament, Prince and James Brown, as well as Kraftwerk, Peter Frampton, and new wave music. In college, Atkins met Rick Davis, who was 10 years older than Atkins. Atkins later described Davis as being like a father figure to me. He taught me a lot. We didn't have so much in common. I was in awe of him. My father was in jail at the time. The two formed a group, Cybotron, in 1981. Their singles released were Alley of Your Mind in 1981, which was played by the Electrifying Mojo regularly, and followed it up with Cosmic Cars in 1982. The group then signed to the California-based Fantasy Records and released the album Enter and the single Clear, which became a hit on Billboard's Black Singles chart, spending 9 weeks there. The group broke up shortly after, with Davis wanting to pursue a more rock-based approach to music, leading Atkins to develop his own solo project as Model 500. Development. As Model 500, Atkins created his own music label called Metroplex to release what he described. The tracks for the first Model 500 release were done in the basement of Atkins' mother's home on the east side of Detroit. As Atkins was taking an audio engineering course at the Recording Institute of Detroit, he would return home to apply the skills he learned on his own recordings. They were recorded with an 8-track tape recorder and a 16-channel mixing board, and using a Roland TR-909 for the drum track sequence. Atkins recollected that it took about 2 days to finish the track Future. Atkins felt strongly in his style of music and said that setting up Metroplex was the only way to get it out there. Atkins had previously attempted to send No UFO to other music labels who turned it down. Style. Mark Jonathan Butler, in his book on the history of electronic dance music, stated that No UFO was frequently described as the first techno record. To me, the system is bent on keeping people in despair, hopeless, not wanting to achieve anything. So if you keep your head up high, maybe you'll start realizing things that you never thought possible, and seeing a UFO is probably the ultimate possibly. Like in Cybotron, Atkins and Davis were both interested in technology and the future and spent significant time discussing them philosophically, and read works such as Alvin Toffler's 1980 book The Third Wave. These themes were also reflected in Cybotron's previous singles such as Cosmic Cars and Industrial Lies. Release. Track listing. 12 single M-1. No UFO vocal 4, 17. No UFO instrumental 6, 55. future vocal 445, future instrumental 5, one, one, one. Credits. Credits are adapted from the vinyl release sticker of No UFO. Marcellus Pete Atkins, executive producers, Juan Atkins, engineer, composer, produces, sir, produces, sir, produces, 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 sir, produces, 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 sir, produces, produces,